with all due respect.
Hey, we're Josh Ortegon and Greg Gaines, and this is With All Due Respect, the show where we keep it real about health, fitness, and performance. From weight loss to sports development, we're covering the conversations that matter.
Follow us on Instagram at Phnm Fitness, PHNM Fitness, and visit www.phenomfit.com to check out our training programs, coaching, and gear built for real results. Let's get into it.
All right, we're live. We are live. We're live. And we're here, and we have Merissa Carpenito. Is that right? Did I say it right?
Correct.
All right. So the reason this is cool is Merissa was an intern for me, and she was one of the best ones. And I'm going to tell people, I was about to say this before we went live. Would be right before you went to IMG, the strength coach guy called me. And he goes, hey, what's the deal? Like, tell me about her. And I said, here's the deal. I said, she's very green. She's very new. She's straight out of college, but she has the coach's voice. She'll grab a room. Like, she's not afraid to be loud, not afraid to grab attention, not afraid to snap people back into like the coaching voice. And you know what I mean by like the coaching voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would work with some of the girls for me and snap, 20 girls, boom, go.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time I heard you, like, because we talk and we kind of talk. And the first time you took control of like a workout group, it was like this whole different person that went up like 6 octaves. I was like, holy cow, that's a little girl, but she got a voice. Right. And I said, hey, she'll learn for you. She'll work for you. She's got family down there. This works for her. I was like, but she's got the voice. She can command a room. And in college strength and conditioning or in strength and conditioning, learning how to command a room is the most, listen, you can work all the tech. You can read all the books. You can learn all the technique. You can learn all the movement coaching, multi-directional movement coaching, all that kind of stuff. If you can't demand a room, you're dead in the water.
Right.
Right. I mean, did you agree? Was that kind of like, is that something you learned early?
Yeah.
After you left me, did you like, I got to demand a room?
Yeah, for sure. And that's actually, it's funny you say that because Jeff Dillman is who you connected me with. And he was the football strength and conditioning at IMG. And going into IMG, I was, like you said, so green, kind of just like opening up to the whole world of strength and conditioning. And during the summer at IMG, they have like camp groups, and it could be 30, 40, 50 athletes all at once. And so it's like our first week there, and Jeff is just like, all right, here you go, like, go. And I remember being like, oh God, here we go. So it was definitely a challenge of like, just obviously, even in front of like football, you're with all the guys, like I'm comfortable with that. But he just like throws you in the water. And I think that was one of the coolest experiences with him, because it's like the best way to learn is by doing it. And it's like at the end of the day, I might have messed up. I might have done something coaching cues that I didn't want to do, but it's not like the end of the day. And that's how you learn as a coach. So yeah, definitely learning that was a huge part with him.
So coaching cues, right? You bring up cueing with coaching. Have you learned? So first of all, tell us where you're at and what you're doing now. Like, give us the rundown of where you're at, because I follow you so much on social just because you're one of my girls. What are you doing? Where are you at? And we'll open this with how people can find you.
Yeah. So I am in Delray Beach, Florida. I have my own training facility, ShyftX Performance. My background is in college strength and conditioning, so I work with a ton of athletes, mostly rotational sports, so a lot of tennis, paddle, lacrosse, that population. And socials, it's Coach Merissa, and then ShyftX Performance is our as well. But within ShyftX, we do personal training, athletic performance, and then we also have group fitness. I have 4 coaches under me, so we also blend like group fitness and athletic performance, trying to get that blend into the performance space.
That's awesome. And like, you're popping this all off at the ripe age of what?
26.
I was going to say, you're going to be only like 25, 24, 25. And so I was, I think, 26 when I first opened a place. And I always tell people, I was like, I was so ignorant to the whole thing. I didn't know it was hard.
Right.
Of course. At
Right?
26, you're invincible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. At 26, I was like, yeah, I'll start a business.
Yeah.
I'll start a business. Sure. And people were like, oh, you started a business at 26. I go, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to. I didn't
Right.
I didn't know. And this opportunity really came to you after training, and then these people approached you. Now, boom, your own facility, you're managing 4 coaches. And I know when I reached out to you to do this podcast, you were like, hey, I got a lot. I'll get back with you. I got a lot going on. Right? And then I started watching your social, and I was like, holy crap, she's rebranding. She's got a gym. She's got all this kind of stuff. Tell me because one thing I wanted to do with this show is to find young strength conditioning coaches who want to go out and do a business on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. You went from IMG to Florida State and now private business. If you were looking back at it, was there anything that happened in your process that was like, I think I want to go private. I don't want to stick into college?
Yeah, that was after my second year at IMG. That was kind of the internal debate I was having of whether to stay college and continue the college path or go into private. And when I really looked at like what I want my life to be, I love college strength and conditioning. I love the environment. It's honestly unmatched. But I was like, I want to have a little bit more autonomy of my schedule. I want to be able to travel. One day I want to have a family. And just the reality of college strength and conditioning is 7 days a week, 24/7. Like, it's your life. Not that ShyftX isn't my life now, but in a different way, I could be able to take a weekend off or take away a day here or two. But in college, it's just such a time investment. And the money sometimes isn't always there, or the amount you can make. So after I left
Yeah.
IMG, I decided to come down to Florida. And not gonna lie, at first it was kind of a hit to the ego because, like, as in the strength and conditioning world, I feel like your goal is to make it to college. Like, people work many years to get into that college environment, and I was like, well, I'm here and now I'm leaving it. But my goal really coming into private is like I've learned so much through my experiences. I want to bring that college strength and conditioning model to the private sector model here. So like how can I those training principles, that intensity, like everything we're doing in private, I'm gonna come and basically start my own company with. But
That's awesome.
when I first moved down here, it was a year and a half ago. If you were to tell me I was gonna have my own facility and be running classes and have 4 coaches under me, I would not have believed you.
Yeah.
But it's just like staying true to myself and making connections and training athletes in a way that is like full effort toward them every session. It just kind of builds naturally out of that.
Well, I want to
That's
know.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so awesome. I want to know your background before IMG. So, were you an athlete growing up? Like, how did you meet Josh? Because I told you when we got on first, like Josh was just giving me a little bit of a rundown, but I want to hear it from you. Like, what got you into strength and conditioning? And I know you wanted to go private sector versus
Mhm.
college, but how did it even start in the first place?
Yeah, so I guess I have a different story compared to everyone else. I didn't really grow up being like, I want to be a strength coach. But all through high school or middle school, high school, I played sports. I played soccer, lacrosse, and gymnastics were my main ones. I have 2 older brothers, so I was just always involved in sports, and somehow they definitely taught me a lot of the grind and having tough skin, which in this industry you definitely need. um, so when I actually went to South Carolina, I was originally a nursing major. And then after a year and a half, I just decided that's not what I'm passionate about. Like, I love the material that I'm learning, but nursing specifically wasn't what I wanted to do. So then I transferred into the exercise science school where I decided I was going to do athletic training. And up to my senior year, I was going to be an athletic trainer until I had an internship with Josh and and realized what strength and conditioning was. I honestly didn't know strength and conditioning was a thing. Like I always lifted myself and kind of was in performance, but I didn't know that was a career path that I could take. And it's kind of cool looking back at it now. It's like my first job, I was cleaning a gym for a free membership, or like I was a camp counselor with kids. So like all these little things I did throughout my life kind of led me to this. And it's cool looking back at it now. It's like, oh, it all kind of makes sense now. But after I was with Josh, I then went to IMG Academy, and I was there for a little under 2 years. I started as a summer intern, and then got hired on full time there. Continued to work under the 18 strength coaches, took in a wealth of knowledge from all of them. Yeah, it was an amazing experience, and they definitely helped shape me into the coach I am now. And then went into FSU. I was there for 2 years and then led into the private sector.
Private. Yeah, that's so awesome. I always love to hear backstory because I feel like so many of us that are in the strength world do come from an athletic background of some sort. I played soccer lacrosse too, so
Mhm.
I had to keep doing something that was related to that, you know?
Yeah,
That's
it's cool
awesome.
because I was like in high school, I was tiny, like Josh was saying earlier. I just have a small build. But we didn't have like a strength coach or anything like that through my high school. But my sophomore year, I started lifting, and it's like I became faster. I could hold my own better. So it's like all these things that I'm doing for my athletes now. I'm like, I wish I had that, but like I kind of did it myself,
Yeah,
but like not to the level that we have it now.
right. Yeah, I'm sure you learned a lot though just through trial and error of doing it yourself then,
Definitely.
which is really cool.
I always tell people, listen, I've had situations where I've been able to like where friends of mine that went to the education route and now like teaching exercise science, or they're professors, and um they've like, hey, will you come on and talk to our class, exercise science class, and talk about like the career in exercise science and all that kind of stuff. And I'd always pull the class and be like, hey, how many people right now like work out, write their own programming, kind of see what works, really care about their nutrition, da da da. And like I'm like talking like a exercise science class, and like half of them
Right.
raise their arm. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, it's extra. Like if you're not into it and enjoy extra, if you're not your first client, if you're not reading books for your own, if you're not trying to get stronger yourself, if you're not trying to improve your movement, if you're not trying to, I don't care if it's, whether it's just the strength base or the speed base or the movement base or the athleticism base, whatever you want to do, if you're not doing that yourself, like that's the that's the PhD.
Yeah, I
That's
think
the
that even
PhD
feeds
you
into
get.
just like coaching as a whole. Like, how are you going to put someone through a program when you haven't even felt the movements or know what it feels like to be in those positions? You know.
I said it all the time. The best education comes underneath the bar.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
you can't sit there and tell people to hit 6 sets of 2 at 90% back squats if you've never put 90% on your back
Right.
and went 6 sets of 2, and it takes you an hour and a half to get it
Yeah.
done. Right? It's right.
Rest time
Like
is 10 minutes.
yeah, rest time. Rest time is like a sandwich. Right?
Yeah, yeah,
And it's just like, if you don't know that, and if you haven't done that, what are you coaching people for?
Right.
Right?
right.
So the fact that you're like, hey, my sophomore year, I started getting stronger, and then I realized I like it, and then I just got involved in it. In the last 4 years, how is, like, obviously you said you were so green going into
Mhm.
IMG, and 4 years later, where has been the biggest? I always ask people this: where has been the biggest learning? What parts of strength and conditioning have you learned the most? That you're like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing, and now I'm good at it and I can teach it.
Yeah, I think so both places, IMG and FSU, have huge access to technology, which I wasn't really
Yeah.
familiar with. So like
Yes.
IMG has force plates, Nord boards,
Hmm.
PBT, everything
Hmm.
you could ask for.
Yeah.
And then similarly with FSU. So actually when I was at FSU, I was getting my master's in sports science. So all that technology I kind of geek out at. But it's really cool to use that and make informed decisions based on what you're receiving, or like test your program. Like, this is the goal of the program. And at the end of the 8 weeks, retest and be like, did we hit the mark? Did we not hit the mark? How can we then adjust
That's great.
programming based off of that?
Yeah. So testing and technology and evaluation. I would say that has been the biggest change in the last 15 years in the industry
Mhm.
is the technology that you can use to program design at the college environment, because the college environment, you got them for a couple of years. Like you can program far out. You have numbers that you can see. In this industry, in the private, there's probably people you have for 6 months and then you don't see them for 6 months.
Right.
So it's hard. It's a little bit harder to get those numbers. But the velocity based training, the running people off like a VBT, or the force plate production. When I graduated college, my first desire was to work in biomechanics in the very beginning of force plate production. There's a guy, John Garhammer's in California, and he was doing a ton of force plate production stuff. This is years ago. And then all the technology came out with the velocity based training, like the Tendo units and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, wait, I don't need to go out there to learn about force plate production. Like, I got velocity based training now. Like, I can attach these little clips to bars in my body and get immediate feedback. I don't need to go out there.
Right.
Right. I do. So that brings up an interesting thing. I'd like to get your take on this because you're more close to this than I have been in a long time. One of the things you're starting to see pushback in strength and conditioning is a little bit of pushback on the science, because they're starting to be some people that get so far into the science side of it and into the feedback side and the technology side that there are some people that forget how to go into the training room and actually coach and cue. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I think there's a fine balance between the two. Like when
Okay.
you look at a lot of studies, whatever I'm blanking on the word of what they say, of like a worthwhile result or whatever they deem as I'm blanking on what they call it. Whatever.
Just valid or whatever, a valid test or whatever.
What
Yeah.
I'm trying to say is like in sport, like 0.01
Okay.
milliseconds is important.
Yeah.
But in a
Yeah.
study, that might not be seemed as important. So it's like
Okay.
taking the general overview of the study and taking it bits and pieces from it, but also being able to go into a room and interpersonal skills of like, how is your athlete feeling? Have they slept today? Have they eaten? There's so many variables within athletics that as a coach and talking to your athlete, you need to understand and be able to adapt from, instead of going in and being like, this is what my study says, this is the program I built off of it, and this is what we're running. It like
Yeah.
training is
Yeah.
adaptable. Training needs to be variable for every individual within a team, not even just for one team, but every individual in a team. And I think that's kind of the art of coaching as well, of like,
100%.
can you tell if your athlete is having a bad day? Are they acting differently? Are they not telling you something? That's when you have to pivot and fix your program to fit them in that given day.
And be able to do that on the fly, right?
Exactly.
Be able to do that on the fly. Well, that's what I call that holistic coaching. Are you holistically coaching the person, not just the robot that some nerd came up with, right?
Exactly.
Because you are getting a lot of people that can really program off of the technology feedback that they get, right? But like, you got to know your athlete. You can't just run it. There's the velocity based training really now I'm blanking on what they call it. The velocity based training really came out with how to train somebody based on their nervous system recovery. And everybody's nervous system recovers different. A really twitchy, explosive defensive back isn't going to have the same recovery that like maybe a larger like offensive lineman, because that's not as twitchy. Like their recovery rates are all going to be the same. They're not, the big white boy offensive lineman from Nebraska might be able to move weight 5 days a week, but that little twitchy defensive back, that nervous system's real sensitive.
Yeah.
You push him hard, you're going to have injuries, right?
I've noticed that too with tennis players, because tennis athletes, there's no set tennis player type. They all have different bodies. They all have kind of different skills and different performance metrics. So it's like, I think tennis is one of the most difficult sports to coach, like just because there's so much variability in body type and performance, and what works for one athlete might not work for another.
So on a day-to-day, go ahead, Josh.
I met Monica Seles, and that's a large woman. years ago. She was number 1 in the world. I was sitting at IMG and I looked up and I go, that's Monica Seles. I go, she could beat the crap out of me.
Right.
Like, that's a big, strong, and then you start watching them move and you start going like, that's a big, strong girl that can move like that. That's a different level
For like
of
3+
athleticism.
hours.
Yeah.
And yes,
It's a long
so
time.
going to IMG had Voluntary Tennis Academy on it.
Mhm.
And that made me realize, watching that level of tennis, I'm like, these people are incredible movers. Like, there's no mistake in their movement. Like, they're some of the best movers from an efficiency and a multi-directional movement combined with reaction.
Mhm.
High-level tennis like that is like, you're in awe of what you're
Mhm.
watching.
It's very
And you're like,
skilled.
these are athletic people. And yeah, they're doing it for 3 hours.
And
Mhm.
like weeks on weeks on weeks. Like there's no real, they have maybe a month of off season, but this schedule is so demanding and so grueling. It's like every weekend they're playing somewhere different. So
Mhm.
they're traveling, they're playing 3+ matches. So it's an intense sport.
Have you found that to be some of the most rewarding people for you to work? Everybody has the most rewarding. Like, I loved baseball. I can't watch a baseball game because it's boring to me, but like, I can sit down. But like, working with baseball kids through my career has been so fun because, one, and you'll understand what I'm saying with this, lifting is a skill. Training is a skill. You have to be in the weight room a lot to get better at the skill of strength training. Baseball players have already learned the skill of hitting. It's a fine-tuned skill that you need to do over and over and over again. It's a skill. You could take the best athlete in the world and put a baseball bat in his hands. He'll never touch a ball. Not
Mhm.
even close. Right? So baseball kids learn how to do a skill, and their transfer to the weight room is so easy because they've already learned a skill. Skill acquisition transfers everywhere.
Mhm.
Right? Is tennis what you've learned to really love,
Yeah,
coaching?
I do love
Yeah.
tennis. And it's interesting
Yeah.
because a lot of the players come from an environment where they've never been in a weight room. So the movement, they like look awkward and feel awkward in various movements in the weight room. Um, like some of them are very athletic on the tennis court, but when you take them off of it, it's like there's just leaks in mechanical movements or biomechanics. So like trying to work through them with that. But in terms of like some of the athletes I've worked with a few girls who are coming from college and going into professional, and that jump is just like 0 to
Oh, yeah.
100. Like, you're top
Mhm.
college, but when you go to pros, that is a different beast. These girls are way more stronger than you. They're way powerful. They have the endurance and they've built it for 5+ years. So getting to
Mhm.
people and increasing their strength and having them understand of what it really takes physically, but also mentally is super guide
Mm.
them through that and through nutrition and different aspects of performance, which in the private sector has been cool because as a strength coach, you're not just their strength coach, but you're also teaching them the different departments of like a college strength and conditioning department that they don't have access to. So you're giving them help with nutrition, you're giving them that mental
Mhm.
performance, you're giving them mindset skills, things that is gonna help their performance as a whole. So it's been cool to like kind of have more of a holistic approach and not just be a strength coach, but also help them in different avenues as well.
That's such a really good point.
Mhm.
The mental side of it. When I went to IMG, they had a whole mental department.
Mhm.
And now the mental side of it is getting more and more and more. Every year it seems like mental, and not just like mental performance, but like mental health. Not just mental performance, but like, so we did a whole series called, what do we call it, Gray?
The fertility series. It's like a
No, the
which
sports
one?
series.
Oh, youth to sport? Just the youth sports series, right?
Is
Is that what you're talking about?
the state, yeah, state of youth sports.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we
Mhm.
did a thing about the state of youth sports. And we did like 7, 8, 9 episodes, but like 4 of
Yeah.
the people we brought on were mental health professionals who deal
Mhm.
with athletes, not just performance, but like how to stay mentally healthy during the pressures and the expectations of their sport,
Mhm.
Right. Because of
right?
the identity piece.
The
Yeah. It's
identity
like
piece.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people see themselves as like, you ask a 17-year-old what they do, they go, oh, I'm a tennis player.
Mhm.
Well, that's going to be over someday. Like, especially a sport like tennis,
Mhm.
right? Because like you said, if they want to go pro, they're not just dealing with people in this country. It's a European dominated field,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? So now you're like, oh, I got to play against these girls in Europe that have been in academies since they're 12.
Right.
This is different. This is a different ballgame, right? Talk a little bit about the mental side. What are things that you've learned about the mental side of coaching that you try to put into some of your athletes? I don't know if you can describe like things you do or conversations you have, but when you say you've been holistically been able to do that and that's been part of it, give us a little inside look at what that looks like for you as a coach with your clients.
Yeah, I think part of it comes through within training, um, pushing them to different limits that they don't think that they can achieve, and showing them after they've done whatever type of training, it's like, "You thought you were ending here, and we ended here." So it's like you
Yeah.
have a little bit left in the tank. It's just, like, trying to get past that mental block and realizing that they are capable of more than they think, and then more of, like, encore play with the athletes. It's tennis, it's one-on-one, so it's like, if you're not showing up that day, you're having a bad day, you still have to finish that match. So
Mhm.
it's like, during performance, it's don't think of so much of the outcome and think of different things you wanna do. If it's something with your forehand, your backhand, just think on actual actual things you can do within your stroke or within your movement that can then give you that outcome, instead of just being like, "I wanna win so bad." It's like, "Well, what are 3 things in this match that you're gonna do to get you to that point?" So, giving
Mm.
them more tangible things that they can feel and feel like they have control over, rather than the outcome, which at the end of the day, you're versing someone in any sport, so it's like the outcome can be whatever, but control the controllables and do things that you know will put you in that best place for success.
So you're talking to them about controlling the process,
Exactly.
not the outcome.
Exactly.
And I love too. That's really true what you first said. That was genius what you said. The mental strength, the mental performance comes within the training,
Mhm.
the pushing and the coaching and the believing in themselves and the relationship you build with them. One thing that people don't realize about private coaching when you're working one-on-one with people, you develop extreme relationships with these people.
Mhm.
Like you're with them 3-4 hours a week, coaching, training, talking about their life. For so many people that get into coaching, if you don't have the personality to connect with people,
Mhm.
and you're an outgoing person, like would you call yourself an extrovert?
Yes. Sometimes
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
extrovert.
Great. Yeah. Great. Gray might be the most extroverted person I've ever met in my life. Okay. But you're an extrovert. You develop relationships with people, I would say pretty easily,
Mhm.
don't you?
Yeah.
At least that's what I saw. That's a huge part of this game for you
Mhm.
is to be able to relation. What's the average age you're working with?
It ranges. Like, I have kids who are 12, 13. I have pros, and then I have guys who are, like,
That's awesome.
60, 70, so it's cool that I get to work.
That's awesome. Okay.
The older
What is
people are always
training?
fun to me.
Yes.
Yeah, Gray loves old people. Yeah,
I
yeah,
do.
Gray,
I
yeah,
do.
Gray's, yeah. What is I think this is a great conversation to have because you probably become very in tune to the issues we're having in youth sports. And there are parents that bring their kid to you. They know that you train pro sports, pro athletes. But then when they see you work with a 12 and a 13-year-old, it doesn't look like the same session that you're having with a professional athlete.
Right.
Has that ever been an issue for you where a parent says that? And what does it explain to people who might be watching this? Why is it so important? What do you do with the 12, 13, 14-year-old athlete? And why is it so important that they don't train like the pros? Because the parents see the pros training and they're like, oh, I want little Billy to train like that guy. Well, the little Billy's 12,
Right. Yeah, I've definitely
right?
experienced that of parents of 8, 9, 10-year-olds coming into me, and they're like, "We want tennis-specific training." I'm like, "Okay, but your kid can't squat, can't hinge." Like, yes,
Yeah.
it'll be tennis-specific training, but really it's just general athleticism and general movement. So, trying to find that balance of explaining to their parent, like, "We're gonna build the foundation that's then they'll build their house on. But if we start by doing things that they're not prepared for, then they're going to have no foundation. And I think that's just clear communication with the parents of like, this is my coaching style. This is what I found that works. If you want the flashy exercises that are on Instagram of like people juggling while like standing on their head, that's not me. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
with the youth athletes, it's a lot of like nervous system training, just getting their body to understand where they are in space.
Oh,
Like that's a huge part of
Mhm.
it, just a general
yeah.
coordination. It's not like we're going to be lifting a ton. It's just very basic body awareness and skills that then are going to transfer into their adult life and professional life and as they grow up.
Have you ever had the parent say, man, my kid's not even really tired after that?
Right, yes.
That's my favorite one. I was like, well, dude, if you want your kid to be tired, I've said this before, I can make your kid tired by dodging traffic in the highway.
Right.
Doesn't do them anything,
Yeah, and I
right?
don't think every session needs to be the hardest session of your life. Like, strength and conditioning, the intensities vary based on what you're doing that day, and parents understanding, like, your kid doesn't need to be gassed. I think that also goes into, like, practice within itself. Like, every practice doesn't need to be the hardest practice of your life. Like, if you're working on skills, it's probably gonna be a little bit lighter, so the same thing in the weight room. If you're working on general skills and movement, it's just gonna be a slower in terms of
Hmm.
intensity day.
Mhm. For
Did you
tennis
run into?
players for tennis players in general, what do you think has been the biggest difference maker on the strength floor?
In terms of, like, movements, doing
Mhm.
movements?
Or maybe one that surprised you, because I think, like you said, we're seeing an increase in different athletes like runners, tennis players, golfers. They're now all getting into the strength room and working on things that'll help them with, like, rotation or running or whatever it may be. What do you think has been the biggest difference maker with your athletes?
I like to do a lot of, like, foot and ankle work. I think that's kind of an area of strength and
Mhm.
conditioning that's missed, but I like to think of it as, like, that's your foundation. So if we have a leak at the bottom of the foundation, then energy transfer through the chain isn't gonna make its way up. So, like, a lot of ISOs, foot complex series to get that strong to then help eliminate hip issues or knee issues that they're
Hmm.
experiencing that's going up
Hmm.
the chain. I found a lot of success in doing that and having them understand the importance of that complex and how why we're doing it. Um,
Right.
because they're like
Well, it
even
makes
for tennis athletes, they're not running. Like they don't
Mhm.
really run in a straight line for distance, so they're not getting that impact with that strong ankle. They have a lot of lateral movement, but how can we then support them through strength and conditioning through that?
Right. And I think, back to the point we were talking about with parents and with the youth sports series that we did, Josh, it was like always, why aren't we training the same movements that they're doing in their sport, right? So, like, okay, if they're constantly rotating, like, why aren't we throwing more? Why aren't we doing
Mhm.
things like that? So, I think getting people to understand, like, you have to do movements that are going to support the entire joint or the entire muscle group. That's what's going to make that athlete more resilient.
Yeah, I love doing, like, anti-rotational core exercises.
Hmm.
I'm just
Me
like, "You
too.
guys are rotating so much. We actually need the opposite to support that amount of rotation." If you come in and we're just rotating for an hour straight, it's like, that's 4 hours of rotation on your body, like, we need to create
Yeah.
the opposite counterpart, right?
You're probably not going to feel very
Yeah.
good.
Right.
When you were in the college environment, was there ever a push between what a coach thought training should look like and what the trainers felt like training should look like? Or was there pretty good a relationship between that? Were you allowed to just kind of stick in your lane, right? Because you hear a lot of times in college environment, the coach tries to bring in what he thinks needs to happen with his
Mhm.
athletes. And I'm sure you've heard stories like that. Or was your experience where like you could be the trainer, they could be the coach, they never really got involved? Were there sometimes, you hear coaches say like, we need to do way more conditioning. They're not going to be in shape. Well, calm down, bro. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
No,
you know?
I was super grateful for the relationship I had. So I was with, women's tennis, men's cross country, and then I assisted on women's sprints when I was at FSU. and tennis was my main sport, so I traveled with them. I was with them every day at every practice with them. And just through the relationship that I built with the coach, obviously the
Great.
first couple of months is kind of like her giving her feedback of what she wants, but once that relationship was built and I'm giving her feedback of what I see, we're having that open communication. I had full autonomy to run the program, and we actually work
Great.
like very symbiotically of like things that I'm seeing in practice and she's seeing at practice. How can we adjust programming per individual athlete and stuff like that? And then we actually had catapult with women's tennis my last year that I
Okay.
was with them.
Okay, cool.
Super cool because it's not usually used in the tennis space, but
Cool.
having that data.
I don't see why not. Like if you know what catapult is, you're like, and you know the energy requirement and the movement requirement there is. How many girls were on that team?
10.
Okay, well you could use catapult and get very catapult's hard when I think it's hard when you're doing like 40 football guys.
Mhm.
But like you can get really good feedback from catapult and almost individualize some things with a group of 10.
Absolutely. And that's what we did, like, a lot of even, like, conditioning-based stuff. It's like once we had kind of a month of data worth of practices and matches, we had data to then look at and see, like, this is kind of our targets that we're trying to hit. And through practices, they were wearing them, so it's cool that I'd be able to give our coach feedback of like, "Hey, we're a day before our match. If you hit your designated workload, like, you're coming off the court," instead of some coaches being like,
Great.
"We're having a 3-hour practice. It's the day before, like, we're gonna grind." Like, having that communication with her and being like, "This is the data. This is why we're doing it. This is what we see in matches." It was awesome to kind of use that, and then the girls are feeling great going into matches and all of that. That was a really good relationship that we had, and yeah, similar to what I was saying before, like, some girls had a player load of, like, 900 per match, where some have, like, a 600, but it's because one's 5 foot tall and the other girl is 6 foot tall, so it takes her a lot more energy to move around the court, so her player load is gonna be higher. So that was a really great piece for me to be able to like, wow, there is a huge difference in playing style and height and performance-based metrics in each athlete individually.
Yeah, and I tell you what really I think has brought that on um is the increased rate of injuries and overtraining and overuse of injuries, and those tools do a phenomenal job
Mhm.
keeping people from having burnout because like before all of that technology, you're just doing it based off feel
Mhm.
and subjectivity. You're just like, well, we look really tired as a team.
Yeah,
And
I
I
Now
think
think
you're like, no, we're yeah.
feel is so hard too because you might not even realize that you're burnt out until you actually step on the court, you know? Like, you
exactly.
don't know that that practice really did you in yesterday for 3 hours until you step on the court and you're like, I'm moving slow, like, everything is I can't even keep up with where the ball is because I just feel
Hmm.
slow.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
think that was definitely one of my biggest challenges coming out of college into private, of being in these universities and settings that have so much controlled information and you're kind of in the know of everything. You're in the know of their practice times, what they're eating, when they're going to bed, all of this, all these metrics. And then you come into private, it's like, I see you an hour a day, and then there's 23 hours in the day. I don't know really, unless I'm in communication with every single coach of like how much you're practicing, how intense the practice was, are you fueling? There's so many unknowns. So that's where I've kind of taken a step back to, like, really educate the athletes of things they're doing outside of my hour with me that's gonna affect their training. I say, like,
Do
control the
you
Hmm.
controllables. I'm like, "If you're not sleeping, then we know you're having these effects." So trying to just get them to understand the more holistic vision of everything instead of just training.
do they track anything like, do you have paper that they track on with you outside of their workout programming? Do you encourage them to, like, share with you, like, actual metrics so that you can look at it, or is it a little bit too much with every athlete?
Yeah, we did so at FSU, we did a lot of Whoop data, like, I had all the data from my athletes' Whoops, and a couple of my athletes wear Whoop now, so they give me access to their
Cool.
steps. We have that communication. I could kinda see the intensity of practice before they're coming in, and we could talk about different things that they're experiencing. Um, I don't do it with all my athletes, like, youth athletes, it's less controlled in that sense, it's
Yeah.
more communication and how they're feeling coming in. But yeah, it's
So we had a kid. We've had a few kids. I've had a few kids. You know, in my environment, we have kids that parents will give them every resource. Right? They spend a lot of money for them to go to school. So getting some of this technology isn't a big deal. We had a kid that was there, and I think he was there when you were there, Merissa. But he was very into his training, and he got a Whoop band. So we started looking at his strain. In his off season, he would lift 3 days a week because real twitchy kid. And most of the guys that are real twitchy, like it's 45 minutes of work and they're done, right? Because he was high volume, high strength, high load. We hit him with like heavy, intense loads, and then we shut it down. Like it was 2 days a week of mobility. You taught him how to eat and sleep, tracked his Whoop band, and every workout, he had 9 workouts through the week. Each day had 3 options. If his strain was very recovered, it was a dynamic day. If it wasn't recovered, it was a strength day. If it was in the tank, it was a mobility recovery day. So we had everything written out for this kid based on his morning strain score. And what that allowed us to do is train this kid around his nervous system.
yes.
And you can now train. So I was like, hey, where's your strain score? He's like, dude, I'm in the tank. I got a little sinus infection coming. My sleep was horrible. My HRV's tank. My strain's really high. All right, that might be a day where like he hits like 15 minutes on the bike, slow, mobility, eats, goes home. Right? So that's what the technology has really been able to do with people is really fine tune their training. So you actually get a positive training effect. If there were days that his strain was really high and I came in and we're looking at like plyometrics and like, you know, sets of doubles on the front squats, bro, he's not going to hit a number. And that was my biggest problem when I came through the industry and when I was in my 20s, early 20s, a lot of the Russian literature and the periodization training and all of that was coming through and we're reading all these books. And I remember being really confused on that because I'm like, if you know anything about where those books came, they come from a Soviet Union environment where everything about these people was controlled. They were basically in an exercise sports environment prison, right? Not only that, but all of them were on drugs, right? You don't have that kind of control in college. You definitely don't have so it's almost like useless information. I can't run a 4-year Olympic level, quadrennial training program on a kid that's leaving for vacation 3 times a year.
Right.
Like that doesn't mean anything. It's really hard in college because you got academics, the social life. You're dealing with other, you're dealing with other issues that they're going to have in college. So like the whole adaptability, the able to adapt and use that training was almost like thrown out of the window. And you don't even hear that anymore with people coming through that style of training. But yet we're all getting translated Russian literature because we thought we were cool getting this translated Russian literature. And then like 10 years later in the field, I'm like, even a lot of like movement evaluations, right? Like everybody was coming out with their own movement evaluation. And I remember sitting back one time and going like, none of these evaluations are changing how I train. Like whether I did the evaluation or not, I'm still going to train the same. It's kind of like, injury prevention training was so big in girls soccer for the longest time for the knee injury. And I'm like, I don't need to do an evaluation to know that we have to pay close attention to the knee.
Right.
Because I see the data that girls are 6 times more likely to tear it than boys.
Right.
So I don't need to do an evaluation. It won't change how I train.
Yeah. I think that
Does that
whole
make sense?
injury prevention is kind of like a buzzword too. It's like really we can't prevent injuries. Like we can help mitigate it and do things to support.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's
It's like the whole corrective exercise thing that came out.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's doing corrective exercises. I'm like, what are we correcting?
Yeah,
Right.
like if you're doing an exercise correctly, it's correct. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I could justify those. I could justify those 6 sets of 2 heavy loaded squats as injury prevention. Like
Right.
I could justify a squat as ankle mobility.
Yes.
Right. I could layer this thing however you want to hear it. Right. And call it whatever you want. Right. Because good training is good training. Good training is injury prevention. Good training is higher performance providing.
That's being strong. It's just being strong,
it's just
period.
Good training.
Yeah.
Right. Have you had, let me ask you this. With females, do you feel like there's a larger population of female athletes coming through that aren't afraid of the weight room?
Yes. I think it goes back to kind of the mindset around strength and conditioning training changing for athletes. Like people are understanding the importance of it. And it's not kind of like injury prevention, but injury mitigation. It's you're not coming in here to get bulky and strong, like huge. Like we're getting in here
Mhm.
to for your sport. I think there's still some lingo going around of like, I don't want to lift to get bulky. And that I'm just like, I've been trying to get bulky for years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Still-
Yeah, yeah, no, you have. Dude, I remember talking to Merissa one time and she's like, what should my calorie intake be? And I was like, about 2,400. You're like, no, not possible. Not even like, you're like, holy crap. Cause I mean, I know you can't tell, but you're a small girl,
Yeah.
right? You're a smaller girl, but you put on muscle
Mhm.
and you've tried so hard to do it.
Right.
You could literally look at the girls and be like, listen, if lifting got you bulky, I would be in the Olympia bodybuilding
No,
show.
I do say that.
Because I've tried really hard
Yeah.
and it's just really hard for a female to do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I
Right?
think it
And
is
you feel
cool, like being a female myself and them.
Mhm.
I post about me lifting, so like them seeing it, and then once they do get comfortable in the weight room and they start to feel the changes on court, or they get more confident or see that they went from lifting 20 pounds to 55 pounds and they get excited, it's like building that confidence around it is super rewarding as a coach. And I love
Mhm.
lifting as a female, so I'm like excited when I get them on the
Yep.
train as
Yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think it just goes
Yeah.
back to the confidence piece of, like, them realizing that they can do more that they do. Girls,
Mhm.
I feel like, kind of tend to pick the lower weights, but as their coach, can we push them to the higher weights, show them that they can do it, and then open their eyes to all that they are capable of.
Were you able to pick up was your weight room already there when you got there?
Yes.
When you started your
I
business,
added
the facility?
Yeah, there's things that I've added, but the framework of it was there.
What did you add? Like more dumbbells or stuff like that, or like were there specific pieces of equipment?
My favorite are the anchors. I don't know if you there's, like, the portable cable units.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
anchors.
Yeah.
Those are really
Yeah.
great. We use them a ton. And then just a couple more, like, cardio pieces, like ski ergs, rowers, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I could
Yeah.
like, you could pay me to I would never do a ski erg.
I know.
Not for me.
What are you
Not for
using the
me.
skier for? Are you just using the skier for just to drive the heart rate up without using the legs kind of thing?
So that's actually we have, a couple high rocks classes, and then there's also a new race, I'm not sure if you guys have heard it, it's called ShyftX. It's
Mm-mm.
a great concept, it's a true hybrid race, so it's a strength portion, so you go out, you do a 1 RM strict press, a 3 RM back squat, and then a 5 RM deadlift. And then you have a 10-minute recovery window, and then you go into an endurance section, which is this year it's a rower, excuse me, and a run for 22 minutes. It's kind of like the max distance you could cover in that 22 minutes. And then you get a 30-minute break, and it's a Metcon from there, so like a 20-minute circuit. But it's cool,
Brutal.
like, these types of races are great for ex-athletes who still
Mhm.
wanna train for
Totally.
something, be competitive, and we have a huge population of those athletes in our gym, and we actually partnered with ShyftX, so ShyftX is their South Florida regional hub, so we
Good for you.
we announced that about a month ago, so we'll be able to have, like, mock races, we'll manage the other affiliates, and it's a European thing right now, they just had their first race in Miami a couple weeks ago, so they're just coming to the US, and I think it's gonna be the next big thing.
Hyrox, yeah, it's
Yeah. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
It is, it truly
That's
is.
awesome. Are you gonna do one?
Yeah, so I actually competed in one 2 weeks ago, the first ever Miami
Yeah.
one we competed in. It's a
That's awesome.
tough.
How do you think you did?
We got, 3rd place or 5th place overall, but they break it up by section, so we got 1st in the Metcon, 5th in the strength and our endurance. We got number 1 in the run, but we got really low in the rowing because that was both of our weaknesses, but that we'll work on. But it's cool because you could, like, get a baseline and then kind of next competition train for that. but it's the most like true hybrid competition that I've ever seen because high rock,
Yeah.
Nice.
like it's so
It's
fun to.
endurance.
It's an endurance sport at the end of the day.
Yeah. What was the Metcon?
So you start with a 30-calorie ski erg, and then you go into
Out.
60 dumbbell overhead presses,
Okay.
6
Oh my God.
meter sandbag carry, 60 box jump overs, 60 meters of dumbbell walking lunges, 60 meters of burpee broad jumps, and end with a 60-calorie ski.
Shit.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, dude.
But I
But
like it's so much fun.
you should do it with a partner. So the 60 numbers are all with you and a partner, so
Yeah.
relatively each. If
Oh, I see.
if you
And
do
I
it
think
solo, it's 30 of everything.
Okay.
there's such like a better entry point for people, like, because I've done CrossFit, and so,
Mhm,
a CrossFit competition is it's kind of daunting. It's a lot of
mhm,
barbell work for people, and so somebody
right,
that's trying to get that entry into, like, competing, but maybe doesn't have huge barbell skill for those Olympic
mhm.
lifts, something like that is awesome.
Yeah, they brought in a ton of the, Olympic CrossFitters to the games
Mhm.
in Miami, and those athletes are studs,
Insane. It is so
like, the
crazy to
girl
watch them.
running, like, 300 pounds, I'm like, "I'll be there one day,
Yeah.
hopefully."
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're athletes.
the CrossFit Games winner this year is from Columbia,
Mhm.
Mhm.
South
Yeah.
Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's a dude. He's built different. He was actually, so when I sold my gym, he was a client there. He was playing football, and when I sold my gym, he worked there, and then he ended up working there, and then was a CrossFit coach, and then got really good at CrossFit, and then won the CrossFit Games. And he's a different kind of, like, not just physically but mentally. Like those
Yeah,
guys at that level, like they're
Mhm.
just different human beings.
for sure.
They're like they're borderline problems.
Yeah.
Like these people are like, I'm so glad you bought CrossFit, because if you didn't have CrossFit, you would probably be some sort of criminal.
Right,
Mhm.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
so crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Um, hey, I love following your story. Anybody that's been around, that's come through, that goes on. I think you're so blessed. Like, you have such good things going on. This industry is so hard, and I've
Mhm.
always told, anytime people's come to me and be like, "How are you to make a career in something like this?" I said, "I got lucky, dude." I was like, I came into when owning a gym and a sports training center was like first hot in the early 2000s, and then I just, for some reason, we just got a lot of people, and they did really good, and they thought I was a good coach because they were really talented, right? It's like, it's amazing how good of a coach a talent can make you, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, talented people can make a really good coach, right? Like, they really can, right? And where do you, like, I know it's hard to ask this question because this place, you're probably just trying to like handle what you got right now. Where do you see this going for you at 26 years old? You have a facility. You're living in Del Rey. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
It's
it could
nice.
be.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was just say. I mean, you could. It's not
It's
like you're in
nice.
Fargo, North Dakota,
Right.
right? This could be worse. You could have a training center in Alaska. I'd be like, that's not cool,
Yes.
right? But you're in Florida. Your family's still in the environment, in the area. You have a really good tan.
I know.
Thank you.
We
Like,
logged on and I was
yeah,
like,
I'm so pissed
"Damn."
right now, dude. I was halfway, dude. I've spent half this way looking. I'm like, when I got to get in the sun, man. Like, Marissa's dark. Like,
I
this is
know.
horrible. I look horrible. I look like a vampire in
Mhm.
this video. And like, it's going good. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, I've thought about this. I would love to have like another facility and continue to kind of mentor coaches under me in terms of strength and conditioning and give them the opportunity to coach under us and grow themselves as coaches. So another facility would be
Uh,
amazing. I think there's a huge area in terms of like online training. Like there's a lot of different apps and stuff like that, but there's not really like athletic specific performance apps. So
mhm.
maybe take on the online space. I don't know. There's
Yeah.
so many options,
Yeah.
but I'm super blessed, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, but I definitely wouldn't be here without you.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
No, seriously, the
Yeah.
first opportunity,
Yeah.
I was just
That's awesome.
like,
That's awesome.
"God."
That's awesome. Um, you know, what I could see happening is, and I know people who've done this, you're going to eventually get to the point where you're going to have a very specific clientele.
Mhm.
And there's probably going to come a time where 5 to 10 people are going to want you just to manage them.
Mhm.
And that's an interesting space where
Mhm.
people who, you know, whether they're professionals, they're going to have enough to, hey, Merissa, I know you only take on 5 people, but can you basically manage my whole training
Mhm.
from all the way from the training to the nutrition to the mental coaching to my programming? That's a market in Florida where you might eventually get to the point where, like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, like a high-end lawyer that only has like 5 clients
Yeah.
and they sort of deal with them forever. I could see that being pushed, but then I could also see that take away from you working and getting the general population people would go away and the 12, 13, 14-year-olds would go away,
Yeah,
right?
I've had
And
that
that would be hard.
opportunity of, like, professional tennis players reaching out, of, like, going on the road with them as well, and it's just, like,
Mhm.
I always come back to the space being so variable and coaches getting dropped here and there and people not matching up together. It's like, if I do take that route, then I kind of forgo all my people here, and it's like that risk
Yeah.
is kind of, like, weighing out the pros and the
Mhm.
cons. Um, it
Mhm.
could absolutely be worth it, but it could also bite me in the butt. So, it's
Yeah.
kind of fun
No, yeah, I know.
balance of, like, what long term, what is the best, you know?
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. Um, I've really enjoyed your social.
Mhm.
Your content's really good. Like the
Thanks.
short clips you put out it's really good content. Listen, I know from firsthand, content can be like when you first were like, I gotta start putting out content.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, like
That's
somebody's
not
gonna
what
see
we're
my
made for.
content. Yeah, it's like I'm gonna have to start putting out
Yep.
content and like, what if I put out something stupid and like, what if somebody makes a bad comment and they're like, man, it's really content is vulnerable.
Mhm.
Putting out
Mhm.
content makes you so vulnerable, especially in Florida where there's 1,000 coaches. There's everybody's trying to be the next big thing. But your content is very good. Like the stuff
I
you put
appreciate
out is like has value. Like people can look at your content and actually be like, oh, that's valuable content.
I appreciate
Especially your movement stuff. The movement stuff and the multi-directional movement stuff and the multi-directional mobility work and all of that. I still it's funny to say this after 25 years, like that's still not the cool stuff that athletes want to see. Just the
Mhm.
basic movement, repetitive movement skills. And I don't know if IMG still like this, but like all the linear movement progressions, all the multi-directional movement progressions,
Mhm.
all of those movement progressions that are so boring that nobody wants to do. Like everybody wants to get out and do the sprints, everybody wants to lift the weights, but nobody wants to pay attention to like the mechanics of multi-directional movement. And
Mhm.
you put out some content that was very specific to multi-directional movement. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that like someone's still teaching the importance of the boring multi-directional movement. Like over time and not just playing your sport over
Mhm.
time. So thank you for coming on. We will post you across all our platforms and thank you for taking the time. Thank you for getting back to me because it was like 6
Yeah.
months ago and I was like, oh, Marissa's busy. And then you text me like, okay,
I didn't
I'm
forget, I
ready.
swear, I was just
No, I know. No. You're good. So I appreciate you coming on, Marissa.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you
thank
so
you guys.
much.
Yeah.